Have you ever wondered what truly separates the unbeatable from the average? What makes someone rise every time they fall? It's not just talent. It's not pure luck. It's not even intelligence. It's habits. Yes, small, consistent, daily habits that look insignificant at first, but compound into unstoppable momentum. Let me ask you this. Do you really think successful people are superhuman? No, they're not. They're just like you and me, but they've mastered the art of discipline over motivation. They've figured out that if you control your days, you control your destiny. And today, you're going to learn exactly how to become one of those people. Because the truth is, the path to becoming unbeatable doesn't start with grand gestures or perfect plans. It starts with a decision, a choice, a refusal to be average. And once you make that decision, everything else changes. Imagine waking up tomorrow and knowing that no matter what happens, who doubts you, what obstacles you face, you have already won. Not because the world changed, but because you did. So listen closely. This is not about hacks. This is not about shortcuts. This is about building a core so strong that nothing can shake you. No storm, no failure, no rejection. This is about rewiring your brain, reshaping your identity, and reigniting your drive. All through habits so small, so simple, and yet so powerful, they'll make you unstoppable. Let me paint you a picture. Two people start at the same point, same background, same resources. One of them hits snooze every morning, tells themselves, I'll start tomorrow. Scrolls social media the moment they wake up, eats whatever's convenient, spends hours chasing dopamine and distractions. The other wakes up early, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. They read, they journal, they move their body, they reflect, they invest their time like it's gold. Fast forward 1 year, who do you think is thriving? Who is respected, confident, in control? It's obvious, right? And yet most people never make the switch. Why? Because they think change has to be extreme. They try to overhaul everything overnight and then burn out within a week. But here's the secret. If you want to be unbeatable, you don't need to change everything. You just need to change your daily rhythm. You need to introduce micro wins, tiny repeatable victories that stack up day after day. And once you start, momentum takes over. Confidence grows. Belief becomes unshakable. And that's when the world starts to take notice. Not because you shout, but because your actions speak volumes. Every day you send a message, not to others, but to yourself. A message that says, I show up even when it's hard. I finish what I start. I keep promises to myself. These are not just affirmations, they're identity shifts. And once your identity changes, your reality follows. Because let's be honest, how many people around you say they want more, but live like they're stuck? How many people talk about goals, but never take the first step? You don't have to be one of them. You're here because deep down, you know you were made for more. You feel it. You hear that inner voice whispering, let's go. It's time. And it is time. Time to shed the excuses. Time to silence the noise. Time to step into the version of yourself that doesn't just dream, but executes. And it starts today, not next week, not when you feel ready, not when everything is perfect. Because that moment will never come. The only thing you can control is now. So what will you do with it? What habits will define you? What rituals will shape your mind, body, and spirit? Because the person you want to be is already within you, buried under layers of comfort, doubt, and distraction. Your job is to chip away at that every day, bit by bit, habit by habit, win by win. And if you do, if you commit, you'll become the kind of person no one sees coming. The quiet storm, the relentless force, the one who doesn't talk, but dominates, not with arrogance, but with certainty. The one who smiles in the face of failure because they know every setback is fuel, every struggle is data, every doubt is just noise. Because when you operate from discipline, when your habits are your armor, you don't crumble, you rise, you keep rising, and eventually the world has no choice but to watch you win. Let me tell you something that sounds simple, but will flip your entire life on its head. Wake up early, not because it's trendy, not because some guru told you to, but because when you win your morning, you win your day. It's that simple. Think about it. How do most people start their day? Rushing, snoozing, scrambling for clothes, inhaling coffee, stuck in traffic, reacting to notifications before they've even had a conscious thought of their own. That's not living. That's surviving. That's chaos from the moment your feet hit the ground. And chaos in the morning leads to chaos in your life. But you're going to be different. Because waking up early isn't about time. It's about control. It's about intention. It's about choosing to act instead of react. And when the world is still asleep, before the noise, the emails, the demands, the distractions, there is silence. There is space. That space is your kingdom. That silence is where clarity is born. That first hour is where champions are built. It's where the unbeatable are forged. Waking up early gives you the one thing most people never have: ownership. You own your thoughts. You own your pace. You decide what matters before the world tells you what's urgent. You set the tone. You dictate the rhythm. You walk into your day like a creator, not a puppet. And yes, it's going to be hard at first. You'll be tempted to roll over, to say just 5 more minutes. But that's where the battle begins. And if you win that first battle, the one between you and your weaker self, you'll be shocked at what you're capable of. Because it's not just about waking up, it's about what you do with that time. This is your power hour. This is where you craft your edge. You move your body, not for vanity, but for energy, for discipline, for momentum. You journal, not because you're a poet, but because your thoughts need direction, your mind needs structure, your purpose needs anchoring. You read, not for entertainment, but for fuel, for perspective, for that one line that might spark the fire you need. And maybe you sit in silence. You breathe. You reconnect with the version of you that isn't distracted or pulled in 1,000 directions. That version of you, the focused one, the calm one, the intentional one, that's the real you. That's the one who gets things done. That's the one who builds a legacy. And every time you show up in that morning space, you strengthen that version. You reinforce your identity. And here's what's wild. This one habit, this one shift, changes everything. Your mood improves, your focus sharpens, your confidence spikes. Why? Because you start your day by doing something most people can't. You kept a promise to yourself. That one victory echoes through the next hour, the next task, the next decision. You're no longer playing catch-up. You're leading. You're calm when others are stressed. You're 2 steps ahead before they even wake up. And that advantage, it's not magic. It's repetition. It's design. It's the deliberate stacking of wins while the rest of the world hits snooze. People will ask you, how are you so focused? Why do you always seem so composed? They won't see the 5 a.m. alarms. They won't see the silent mornings. But you will, and you'll know. That's where the power is. That's where the unbeatable are made, not in the spotlight, in the shadows, in the early hours when no one's watching. So how do you start? You don't need to wake up at 4 a.m. tomorrow. Just win the first 15 minutes. Set the alarm 30 minutes earlier. Prepare your environment. Put your phone across the room. Lay out your clothes. Set the intention before you sleep. This isn't about being a morning person. This is about becoming the kind of person who chooses to lead their day instead of letting it control them. And here's the truth no one tells you. The discipline you build in the morning leaks into everything else. You start eating better, not because of willpower, but because you've already acted in alignment with your goals. You work smarter, not longer, because your mind is clear. You handle setbacks with grace because your foundation is strong. Your emotional bandwidth increases. Your decision fatigue decreases. You become dangerous in the best way. Because now you're not just showing up, you're showing up prepared. You're showing up grounded. And that edge, that's what separates the average from the elite. Not the number of hours worked, not the big dramatic moments, but the quiet consistency of someone who decided to wake up. Not just physically, but mentally, spiritually, purposefully. So, what are you going to do tomorrow morning? Will you hit snooze and shrink? Or will you rise and lead? Will you scroll and numb out? Or will you build and level up? The choice is yours. The time is yours. The life is yours. Because no one is coming to wake you up. You have to do that yourself. And when you do, when you rise while the rest sleep, you'll realize something profound. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. And when consistency meets purpose, that's when the unbeatable version of you is born. Let's destroy a myth right now. Motivation is a lie. It's fleeting. It's emotional. It shows up when it feels like it and disappears when you need it the most. You've felt it, haven't you? Fired up one moment, flat the next. Inspired on Monday, numb by Thursday. But here's the truth no one wants to hear. The people you admire, the ones who show up day after day and get results, they don't rely on motivation. They rely on discipline. Because motivation asks how you feel. Discipline doesn't care. Discipline shows up whether you feel like it or not. And that's why it's powerful. That's why it's rare. That's why it works. Let me ask you, do you brush your teeth because you're motivated? Do you take a shower only when you're in the mood? No, you do it because it's a standard. It's not negotiable. That's how you must treat the habits that build your mind, body, career, and life. Non-negotiable. No excuses. No compromise. Discipline is not a punishment. It's freedom. It's peace of mind. It's the ability to trust yourself. Because once you start keeping promises to yourself, you stop needing validation from the world. You stop explaining. You stop hesitating. You start executing. And suddenly, your life feels less chaotic. Why? Because you're no longer making 100 small decisions every day. You've already made them once. You decided, I train daily. I eat like I respect my body. I work like someone who has something to prove. I rest like someone preparing for war. These are not rules, they're commitments. And commitment beats feeling every single time. Still waiting to feel ready? Stop. You don't need readiness. You need structure. You need a system so solid that even on your worst day, you still show up. Not at 100%. Not at your best. But you show up anyway. Because average people show up when it's easy. Champions show up when it's hard. The unbeatable, they show up no matter what. Think about it. How many dreams have died waiting for motivation to return? How many goals have withered in the waiting room of someday? And how many times have you told yourself, I'll start when I'm more focused, more rested, more inspired? Let me break it to you. That day never comes. But you don't need it to. You just need to start, even messy, even tired, even unsure, because every time you move forward in the absence of motivation, you train yourself to lead. You shift from consumer to creator, from excuse maker to standard setter, and the shift is internal. It's quiet. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't ask for permission. It just happens. And from the outside, people will wonder, how do they do it? They won't understand, but you will, because you made the switch. You stopped waiting and started building. You stopped hoping and started stacking. Action over intention, commitment over mood, movement over comfort. That's the difference. Discipline is a muscle. And like any muscle, the more you train it, the stronger it gets. Every early wake-up call, every skipped distraction, every time you say no to what's easy and yes to what's right, you're not just completing a task. You're sculpting a version of yourself that doesn't bend under pressure. You're becoming the person who does what they said they would do. No loopholes, no back doors, just straight execution. And you know what happens when you operate like that? You become terrifying to mediocrity. You become allergic to excuses. You start attracting opportunities, results, relationships, because people can feel when you're the real deal. You become that rare individual who doesn't talk about discipline. They are disciplined, and that changes everything. People want to work with you, follow you, learn from you, not because you shouted louder, but because your actions speak for themselves. Because when the world sees someone who doesn't fold, who doesn't flinch, who stays the course, they take notice, they respect it. But more importantly, you respect yourself. And that self-respect becomes a force field, a standard, a compass. You stop chasing validation and start living by values. You stop seeking approval and start seeking mastery. And that's when you unlock something most people never experience: internal power. That deep, unshakable knowing that no matter what happens out there, you can handle it. Why? Because you don't depend on mood. You depend on mission, and discipline is the bridge between mission and results. So how do you build it? Start small. One habit, one standard. Keep it daily. Keep it brutal. Don't ask yourself if you feel like it. Ask, did I commit to this or not? If yes, do it. If no, don't lie to yourself. Because the second you let yourself slide even a little, you break trust. And broken self-trust leads to stagnation, anxiety, and that sinking feeling that you're drifting. But when you follow through, even on the tiniest action, you build something bulletproof. And brick by brick, you lay the foundation of someone who doesn't break, who doesn't beg for motivation, who just executes quietly, consistently, relentlessly. That's how you win. That's how you become unbeatable. Let me ask you something. Most people never pause long enough to consider. When was the last time you had a real conversation with yourself? I'm not talking about surface-level thoughts or mental to-do lists. I mean raw honesty, clarity, questions that cut deep, and answers that don't hide behind filters. Because the truth is, we are drowning in noise. Notifications, opinions, deadlines, pressure, everyone and everything trying to pull us outward. But power? Power begins inward. And there's one practice, one weapon that brings it all back into focus. Journaling, not the fluffy, poetic kind. I'm talking about strategic, gritty, mind-clearing journaling that separates chaos from clarity. That exposes lies you've been telling yourself. That forces you to see things as they are, not as you wish they were. This is not a diary. This is a mirror, a battlefield, a blueprint, a notebook where battles are won before they're ever fought. Because every day, your mind is a war zone. Fear versus courage, doubt versus action, excuses versus execution. And if you don't get those thoughts out of your head, they multiply, they twist, they spiral. But when you write them down, you take control. You extract the poison. You organize the fire. You process before you react. You learn before you repeat. It's you sitting down with the one person who can change everything, yourself. And you don't need fancy tools. You don't need hours. You need 5 minutes, 10. Just enough to ask, what am I feeling? Why am I stuck? What did I do well today? What needs to change tomorrow? That's it. Because clarity compounds. And with every word, you're building awareness. And awareness is leverage because you can't improve what you don't understand. You can't fix what you won't face. But the moment you face it, you weaken its grip. You take back the narrative. You become the author, not the victim of your story. Most people walk around carrying invisible weight, regret, guilt, anxiety, and they never unpack it. They numb it with distractions. But you don't run. You sit down. You write it out. And in that quiet space, you rediscover your power. And here's where it gets even more powerful. Journaling isn't just a release. It's a record. It's proof. It's memory. You look back 1 month, 3 months, 1 year, and suddenly you see your growth. You see patterns. You see how you kept moving even when it was hard. That perspective, it's fuel. It's fire. Because sometimes you forget how far you've come. But your journal doesn't. Your journal becomes the receipt of every battle won in silence, the training ground where mental strength was forged. And that strength? It spills over into your relationships, your work, your health. Because when your mind is clear, your actions are sharp. Your focus is lethal. Your energy is clean. You stop reacting. You start leading. Journaling trains your emotional control. It rewires your self-talk. You stop saying, I'm overwhelmed, and start saying, here's what I can control. You stop drowning in thoughts and start building plans. That's a weapon. That's unbeatable. And let's be honest, discipline without self-awareness is dangerous. You can grind yourself into the ground without even knowing why. But when you reflect daily, you course correct early. You notice the burnout signs. You catch the excuses. You learn your rhythms. You optimize. That's mastery. Not just hustle, intelligent hustle, sustainable growth, purpose-driven movement. And it all starts with a pen and page. So what do you write? Start with 3 prompts. 1. What am I grateful for? 2. What did I learn today? 3. What am I avoiding that I need to face? That's it. That's the seed. From there, let it evolve. Rant if you need. Celebrate if you can. But write. Daily, no matter what. Because every time you show up on that page, you reinforce your identity as someone who reflects, learns, adjusts. Not someone who floats. Not someone who avoids. But someone who sharpens. Someone who builds from the inside out. And don't worry about being eloquent. This isn't for Instagram. This is for you. Your raw thoughts, your flaws, your goals, your fears, your ideas. Put them all down and watch what happens. Watch how the fog lifts, how the chaos quiets, how you begin to lead yourself, not just survive. Because if you can lead yourself, nothing out there can stop you. Not criticism, not uncertainty, not failure, because you're grounded. And when you're grounded, you're dangerous. So pick up the pen, build the habit, make your journal your secret weapon, because every page is a brick, every sentence is a rep. And one day, you'll look back and realize you didn't just write in a notebook. You built a fortress, a legacy, a mind that doesn't fold. That's how you become unbeatable from the inside out. Let me tell you something the average mind will never understand. Your brain is either expanding or decaying. There is no pause button, no standing still. Every single day your mind is being shaped by what you read, by what you listen to, by what you consume. And if you're not feeding it with intention, it's being fed by default. And default, my friend, is dangerous. Default is gossip, fear, distraction, noise. Default is the algorithm choosing your thoughts. But you're not here to be average. You're not here to think like the masses. You're here to evolve, to elevate, to dominate. And to do that, you need one thing: daily input. Not random, not passive, but powerful. Intentional learning. Strategic knowledge. 30 minutes a day, that's all. 30 focused, disciplined, consistent minutes of learning. And over time, that small input rewires everything: your mindset, your language, your beliefs, your standards. Because knowledge isn't just power. It's direction, it's ammunition. It's the fuel for better questions, better decisions, better moves. Most people say they want change, but they spend more time watching influencers than studying strategies. They scroll for hours but won't sit still for a podcast. They consume noise and wonder why their thinking is fuzzy, but not you. Because you understand this. If you want to outperform 95% of people, you don't need to be louder. You need to be sharper. And sharpness comes from input, from reading pages, not just posts, from listening to minds greater than your own, from surrounding yourself, even digitally, with brilliance, grit, resilience. Let me be blunt. If you're not growing, you're dying. And the people who stop learning after school, they've already signed the contract with mediocrity. They've already capped their potential. But the ones who keep going, who read after work, who listen while others complain, who take notes when others tune out, they are a different breed. They move different. They speak different. They think different. And that difference, it compounds. Because it's not about the book, it's about the mind it shapes. It's not about the podcast, it's about the beliefs it rewrites. Every 30-minute investment is a deposit into your future, into your confidence, into your clarity. And over time, those deposits build a mind that's untouchable. You start connecting dots others don't even see. You speak with precision. You make decisions faster. You spot patterns quicker. You're no longer just working hard. You're working smart. That's the edge. That's the advantage. That's how you quietly pull away from the crowd. And you don't need to overcomplicate it. Choose a topic. Choose a mentor. Choose a format. Books, audiobooks, interviews, courses. It doesn't matter. What matters is consistency, repetition, intent. Because repetition rewires. It takes ideas from theory to instinct, from inspiration to execution. You don't just know it. You live it. You embody it. And people feel that. They sense it in your energy, your posture, your presence. You walk into rooms and people listen, not because you're loud, but because you're informed, because you carry weight. And that weight doesn't come from showing off. It comes from showing up, day after day, pouring wisdom into your mind while others waste time on nonsense. And don't tell me you don't have time. You have dead time. Time in the car, time in the gym, time between tasks. Swap the playlist for a podcast. Swap the show for a skill. Make learning the soundtrack of your life. Make curiosity your compass. Make growth your obsession. Because in a world that's changing faster than ever, your only safety net is your ability to learn, adapt, evolve. That's the new currency, the new flex. Not status, not stuff, but knowledge. And the best part? It's free, it's everywhere, there are no excuses left, just choices. So choose wisely. Choose to learn when others entertain. Choose to grow when others distract. Choose to sharpen your edge every single day until your thinking is so clear, your vision so locked in, your execution so precise that people can't keep up even if they tried. That's what makes you unbeatable. Not just effort, but elevation. Not just action, but awareness. Not just motion, but mastery. And it all starts with one decision. I will learn. I will grow. I will outthink the old me. And when you stack that habit day after day, you become someone very few people will understand, but many will follow. Someone who doesn't wait to be taught, who teaches themselves. Someone who doesn't beg for answers, who digs until they find them. Someone who doesn't just survive, but builds, leads, disrupts. And that, right there, is how greatness is formed. In silence, in discipline, in daily learning. So don't wait, don't coast, don't stop. Read the book, take the notes, watch the masterclass. Journal what you learned. Reflect on how to apply it. This is your edge. This is your move. This is the habit that makes you dangerous. Because while they're asleep, you're awake. While they're distracted, you're leveling up. While they're entertained, you're becoming exceptional. That's how the unbeatable are built. That's how you rise. So now you know. It was never about talent, never about being the smartest, the fastest, or the luckiest. It was always about the small wins, the things nobody claps for, the habits nobody sees, the moments when no one's watching and you choose to rise anyway. That's where it begins. That's how the unbeatable are born. Not through explosive transformation, but through daily commitment to the smallest, quietest, most intentional actions. Waking up early, not to impress the world, but to own your morning before the world has a chance to distract you. Showing up with discipline, not when it's convenient, but when it's hardest, when your body's tired, when your mind screams later. That's when it matters most. Writing it down, facing the chaos inside your head so you can walk through the world with clarity, not confusion. Learning daily, not to collect information, but to become sharper, wiser, stronger than the version of you who started this journey. It all adds up. And here's the truth that will haunt most people. They had the time. They had the chance. But they didn't commit. They waited for the right moment, for the perfect plan, for permission. And by the time they looked up, years had passed, potential had faded, and they were left with nothing but excuses. But that's not you, not anymore, because now you see it, now you feel it, that fire in your gut, that quiet knowing that you were made for more, that you're not here to be average, that you're done with the old story. And yes, it's going to be hard. Yes, it's going to stretch you. You will fall. You will want to quit. But you won't, because you've already made the decision. You've already crossed the line. You've already said, I don't care how long it takes. I don't care who doubts me. I don't care how slow it feels. I will not break. That's your advantage. That's what makes you different. And you don't need anyone else to see it. Because real growth happens in silence. Real change happens in darkness. And when the results come, they'll be undeniable. They'll ask you, how did you do it? And you'll smile because they won't understand. They didn't see the early mornings, the skipped temptations, the pages filled with doubt and clarity, the books, the reps, the reflection, the repetition. But you'll know. You'll know you earned it, inch by inch, day by day, win by win. And let me say this as clearly as I can. You don't have to be perfect. You don't need to do everything. You just need to do something today, right now. One habit, one action, one promise to yourself that you actually keep. Stack it, repeat it, build it. And when it gets boring, keep going. When it gets heavy, keep going. Because every time you don't quit, you become harder to beat, stronger, sharper, more focused, and eventually there's a moment where something shifts. You're no longer faking it. You're no longer forcing it. You've become it, the mindset, the standard, the force, and the beauty of it all. No one can take it from you. They can take the money, the followers, the applause, but they can't take your habits. They can't take your process. They can't take your identity because it's in your bones now. You are the storm. You are the standard. You are the proof. And this is just the beginning. So the question is no longer, can I do this? You already know the answer. The only question left is, will I? Will you build when it's boring? Will you lead when no one's clapping? Will you keep going when no one's watching? Because if the answer is yes, then you've already won. You don't need hype. You don't need luck. You don't need a breakthrough. You are the breakthrough, the momentum, the shift, the spark. And the legacy you leave won't be built by chance. It will be carved by your choices. So go. Build your edge. Guard your mornings. Execute with discipline. Reflect with honesty. Learn with obsession. And above all, never stop. Because in a world full of people who start and stop, dream and delay, hope and hesitate, you will become the one who never backs down, the one who outlasts, outthinks, outworks, the one who is truly, undeniably, completely unbeatable.